All right, guys. Welcome to Frank Teaches Devils, my lovely viewers, my lovely viewers. Thank God it is Friday. Friday. Yeah, man. Yeah. So today, guys, it's been a while. We left the scene. It's been a while. We did some recording. Yeah, maybe due to the activities that we have been involved in, trying to all right to transfer knowledge, and yeah, as you all know, my cohort 4 undisputed is ongoing, and yeah, so so that's why we have been very, very busy behind the scene. So that being said, guys, so today I'll be talking about AWS code commit. You hear me right? AWS code commit. Great, guys. All right. So now, what's code commit? So before I go into talking about a code commit, right? You already know these services. You already know. Let me start with this. Um, Version control system, right? You already know this, right? And one of the most popular tool that we use for version control system is Git. All right, is Git. Great. All right. So Git is common. So everybody knows Git. Both developer, be you who you are, even the marketer, all right, knows what Git is. All right. Now we also have things like GitHub. We have GitLab. We have Bitbucket. All right. And these are open source tools. All right. I term them as open source. They will now have proprietary. All right. Proprietary, we have things like Azure repos. Azure repos for those that are into Azure DevOps. All right. So in Azure DevOps, we have a version control system known as Azure, a version control system used on Azure DevOps known as Azure repos. Then on AWS, we also have AWS DevOps. Let me categorize this as open source DevOps. Open source DevOps. All right, open source, where you get to deal with open source tools. All right, great. Now, AWS DevOps. So in AWS DevOps, we have a version control system service called Code Commit. Yeah. So this Code Commit is AWS service for managing your code base, for managing and tracking changes made to your code base on AWS. You got me right? All right? On AWS. Now, the beauty of this is, here's the beauty. Now, somewhere here we have Git. All right? Somewhere here we have Git. Let me increase the font. Makes sense. That's it. That's it. So somewhere here we have Git. And somewhere here we have these number of tools, these number of version control systems, right? GitHub, let me remove Git from here. We have GitHub, GitLab, Bitbuckets, Azure repos, code commit. Now, the beauty of this is Git is used to relate with all of these. So it is Git commands. Let me put it there. It is Git commands that you still have to use to relate with all of these different kinds of version control system. All right. So great. So code commit, the same thing as Azure repos, the same thing as GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. These are systems that are used to track and monitor. Let's put that in definition. These these are systems that are used to track and monitor code changes, right, to your code base, all right, to your code base. So that is what a version control system does, and many more, guys, all right, and many more. So this is just a top level definition, all right, of what a version control system does. Now that now brings, after that, we now have what we call AWS CodeCommit. So AWS CodeCommit is a type of VCS, of a version control system. All right. But in this context, it is a managed service. It's a managed version control system. All right. The way we have been, from our local terminal, we will push our code from the local terminal to your GitHub environment, to your GitHub. Is the same way we will see how to push code from our local machine into what? Into your what? AWS CodeCommit environment. So this is a managed service. All right. So let me just show us how AWS CodeCommit looks like. So let's go to our AWS console. On the AWS console, I'll come to search and I'll type CodeCommit. CodeCommit. AWS CodeCommit. Here it is. All right. So what's that definition? I saw something. Let me go again. CodeCommit. They said CodeCommit store code in private Git repository. Store code in private Git repositories, right? So that's CodeCommit. So here it is. These are it is. Developer tools, CodeCommit, right? CodeCommit, getting started. Let's check. CodeCommit creates secure repositories for sharing your code in the cloud. All right. When you need to share your code within the cloud, all right, it's a fully managed service. You can see it's a fully managed service. All right. CodeCommit eliminates the need to host, maintain, backup, and scale your own source control servers. All right. The service automatically scales to meet the great needs of your project. So yeah, so this is, guys. So we would be showing us how to interact, all right, how to interact from our local machine. This is my local machine, all right. I have my local machine here, which is this, right? I have my local machine. This is my Mac machine, my local machine. We want to show us how to interact from a local machine to AWS CodeCommit. How do I push my code from local machine to AWS CodeCommit repository? How do I get connected? How do I connect, all right, to CodeCommit so that I can start pushing codes from my local machine to my what? To my AWS environment. So that is what we want to show us in today's lesson. All right. So great. So now that we now know what an AWS CodeCommit is, so now let's look on how to set up SSH connection. All right, to enable us authenticate, right? Authenticate to CodeCommit. So after we may have authenticated to CodeCommit, then we can now start writing our code locally in our local repository, then commit those codes, push those codes, all right, to our what? AWS CodeCommit repository. Right? There are several ways you can authenticate to AWS CodeCommit. It's like I saw it somewhere here. I saw it some. All right, no, right. There are several ways, and one of those ways is via SSH. Using the I am user. All right, using I am user, you can actually authenticate. All right, but there's a way. There's a very tricky way. Right. So we're going to show us how to get that started. But before then, let's get into the steps in making this to work. All right, let's start with the steps. Steps. All right, let's start with the steps. All right, so step one is create a repository. on code commit. Let's do that right way. So I'll go to my AWS account, go to my AWS account. Here's my AWS account. All right. I'll come to my search bar and I'll type code commit. I'll click the service name, code commit. Then once I click that, I'll get this first page. Click on what? Create repository. Let me just give it a name. Let me call it Merchant API. Merchant API. Then let me just tag it. Name value, Merchant API. Create repository. Now, this repository has been created. So the moment this repository is being created, it's going to show me some connection steps, right? So there are 3 major connection steps. One is HTTPS, the other is SSH, and the third one is HTTPS GRC, which is Git remote code commit. I have not gone this route before, all right? You must install Python, blah, 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 blah. What I have done so far is SSH, right? SSH, that it makes sense to me, right? So let's look at SSH. So SSH, I'm using Mac OS. I think Mac OS and Linux, they are a bit the same thing, all right? The same method, right? The same method, all right? So let me start with Mac OS. Now, the prerequisites say you must use a Git client that supports Git version 1.7.9 or above, right? So let's check my Git version. So I'll come to my terminal and say Git version. So what I have here, I have Git version 2 points, which, yeah, I've passed that. I am eligible to that. I'm eligible to use code commit from my local machine because my Git version is 2.39, which is above the recommended Git version. Right? Great. Now it now says that you must have an AWS code commit manage policy attached to your IAM user, belong to a CodeStar team, or have the equivalent permission. Now there's something called CodeStar, which we saw somewhere. If I go back to I'll come back here, guys. Let me go back to getting started. So there's CodeStar. I don't know this service though. I've not used this service. What was it about? AWS CodeStar provides a unified user interface enabling you to easily manage your software development activities in one place. So it means that if I'm a member of this CodeStar, I will be able, let's go back to repositories. And here's my repository. Click on it. Then I'll be able, which is Linux, sorry, Mac. I'll be able, right, to authenticate to what? To AWS code commit. So that's what they're saying here. Now, the step says you must have an SSH public private key pair. I say I should open my bash emulator and create a public private key pair using SSH keygen. Now, after this, the next step will be register your SSH public key, right? Upload your SSH public key to your IAM user, and here is the documentation to do all of that. So let's get started. Let's get started. So from our steps, I've created what? The repository. Now the next step now says step 2. Let's go and check step 2, which is still on step 1 there about around here. The prerequisites though, right? It says you must have an AWS managed policy attached to your IAM user, right? So I have an IAM user called Omero. So this is my user, guys. This is this user I have already, right? Now they now say I should go to permissions. Here's the permission, and I should add a permission called AWS CodeCommit power user. Now, if this my user wasn't an admin user, all right, as you can see, I have admin privilege because of this policy, administrator access. I would have added a permission that would allow me to have access to code commit, and that permission is let me show us the permission. I'm going to add permissions. I'll come to attach policies directly. Now search for code commit. Now this is the permission that I need to be able to what? Commit from my local machine into AWS code commit. So if I say next and I add permission, so I will be removing this permission. I'm just showing you how to add it. I'm removing it because I have admin access already. So admin covers everybody. All right, so this is the permission that you need. AWS code commit power user. So I'll remove it. Select it, remove, remove. So this user is an admin user, so I don't need to add an extra permission. So we've just fulfilled step number 2. So step number 2 says attach the AWS code commit via user permission. That's step number 2. Then let's go back to here. Now, step number, still on these prerequisites. Should I call it prerequisites? All right, let me just give it my own steps. All right, step number 3, generate a key pair. All right, I already have key pairs. Right, I already have key pair which I've generated. So my key pair is under this. So I have my IDRSC and IDRSC.pop. So these are the 2 key pairs I already have. So if you need to generate a key pair, you say SSH key generate. So this utility will walk you through in generating key pairs. I wouldn't want to do it because I already have key pairs. All right. So Control C to terminate. I don't want it. Right. So that was step. What step is that? Step 3. Generate your SSH key pairs using SSH key gen. All right. Let me remove this bold stuff. All right. Be yourself. Great. All right. Now let's go to the next step. That was it. Now that you've generated the key pair, the next step now is we need to register the SSH public key against the IAM user. All right. Upload your SSH public key to your IAM user. So here is the documentation that says all of that. So let's open this documentation. I'll click on it. It opens in the new tab. Right? So it says initial configuration for code commit, which we've done all of these. We've done it. Now, initial install Git, we've done that. Then the next step, generate your keys. We've generated our keys. We've done that. The next step now is they say we should go to AWS console and upload the public key. All right. They should upload the public key, right? Which we are here, right? So we should register the SSH key. So how do we register it? So I'll go to my IAM user, which is this is my IAM user Omero. I'll come to what security credentials. Then I'll scroll to where I see what SSH public keys for AWS commit. Now I'll click on what upload SSH public key. So before that, I have to go and get my public key. So I'm going to be using cat. Then my public key is in this location, right? I'll hit enter. So this is my public key. So I'll just copy it. Copy. I've copied my public key. Then I'll come here. I want to upload it. Upload your SSH key. I'll paste it. Paste. Now click on what? Upload public SSH key. So I have my key now. So I have uploaded my public key from my local machine into my IAM user. All right. So I'm using this guy's credential. All right. So this is the guy I'm using to authenticate to code commit. Just to code commit to just a code commit. You can see I have this key now. Right. So let's look at the next steps. Now we've done this, right? Where's that step? Somewhere here. That's register your SSH key. So let's go and add it, which is step number 4. Register your SSH public key with the IAM user. All right, we've done that. Now let's come back here. Yeah. So now the next step says we should edit our local configuration within our environment. All right. So now this is what they're saying. Let me open these documents. It looks more clearer. Oh yeah. So they say you should create a config file in our .ssh directory. In this .ssh directory, create a config file. In that config file, mention this content, right? So I'm going to copy all this content. I'll copy this content. I'll copy it. Then I'll come to Okay, let me update here. Let me update our steps. The next step says create a config file in home, all right, dot ssh slash directory, all right, create a config file, all right, with the following content, all right, with the following content, and this is the content. The content is this. Here's the content. Oh shit. That's the content, all right. So remove this, great, and remove this, great. So this is the content, all right. Host this, then user this, all right. So this key has to be replaced. We are going to replace it. I'll show you where the key is, all right, with this content. Okay, we are good. So let's go and create that. So I'll come to my local machine. Here's my local machine, and I'll go to using Vim. I'll go here, and then I already have a config file, right? I'll go into this config file, right? Then I'm going to paste that content. I'll paste this content. Now, what we are doing now is I'm going to be replacing the user with the SSH public ID. The SSH public ID is on IAM. I'll show us where the key is. Then I'll specify my identifier. My identifier, I'm going to point my identifier to my private key. So my private key is ID underscore RSA. I've changed that. Then let's go and replace the user value here. So I'll come to my what IAM. Come to my IAM. Can see this is the key, SSH key ID. This is what I need to replace. I'll select it. I'll copy. I'll come to my terminal. I'll replace it with whatever that is there. Delete this. Paste. That's it, guys. We are good. So I'll escape and I will save and quit. That's it, guys. Right? That's good. So the next step, let's look at the document one more time. They say we should now run change mode 600 config. All right. I already have this. So if you've not done it, it's always better you do it. So let's go back to the main repository. So it's the same thing, you can see. Yeah. So once you're done, you want to git clone your repository, which is this. So here is the command. We are through, guys. We are through. All right. So but before then, let's test. Let me go back to the documentation. To test, I will just say SSH followed by my repository git commit wherever. All right. So I'll come back here. I'll copy this git clone. I'll copy it. Then I'll come to my terminal. All right. I'll paste it. Then what I'll do, I'll remove this excess. These are excess. Remove this. Then I'll also remove this. I want to test connectivity from my base machine to AWS CodeCommit. So I'll say SSH, then the whole of that, git dash codecommit dot my region dot Amazon Linux, Amazon AWS.com. So I'll hit enter. The moment I hit enter, it's authenticating. Can you see it now? It's now authenticating. It's asking for my what passphrase. My passphrase was this. I just give my passphrase and I'll hit enter. Now it will now tell me that you have successfully authenticated over SSH. You can use Git to interact with AWS CodeCommit. Interactive shells are not supported. Connection to what? To this closed by what? Remote host. That's okay, guys. That's okay. All right, great. Now let's now do a Git clone. Right? I want to build a Git clone of this merchant API. I'll copy this guy. I'll come to that terminal. All right. I'll do a what? I'll paste it. I'll hit enter. So it's nice. You see, it's cloning into merchant API. So what I'll now do is I give my passphrase. I'll hit enter. I have cloned the repository. How do I know? Let's change to that directory. I'll say change directory, merchant API. You can see it. I now have it locally. Now, if I now say git remote dash v, let's see what we'll get. You can see that I have my remote repository already sync to my words local repository. So it means anything I do here, I can now push to my words AWS CodeCommit repository. So let's create some files. Let me check the branch. The branch is not showing because I've not done it. It's a clean, empty repository. So let's now add some files. Let me touch Docker file. Touch Docker file. Let me touch package .json file. All right. Let me also touch some other miscellaneous file. Let me touch let me say server.js. Right. So I have still 3 files. Now if I now say git status, I should have these files in my on track area. So let me put them in the track area by saying git add. I'm adding everything. If I check git status one more time, I have it there. Now let's commit. Git commit. Added development files, right? They're now added, right? Now let's check the git status. Branch is upstream is empty. Now git branch, let's check, is now main, right? Now let me now push. I'll now say git push. So git push, I hit enter. It will ask for my passphrase. I hit enter. So now you can see I've comfortably pushed this code, Docker file, where is it? Docker file, package.json, server.js to my what? Git, what's it called? Code commit repository. How do we know? Let's come back here. Click on repositories. I should have mentioned API. Let's check. Last modified just now. Let's click on the name. You can see I have these files on my what? AWS CodeCommit repository. So this is my repository called what? Merchant API. So I can do a lot of things. I can add files here as well, right? I can add file. You can see I can add file. Let me add a file. Let me just call this file build.yaml, build app or build spec. Build spec. Wait, what am I doing? Oh, sorry, the file name. Sorry. Quotes. The file name is this. The file name is that. The author is, maybe the author comes automatically. The email address could be Frank Teaches Infotech or whatever. Then the content. The code editor uses the tab key to control. So can I also say commit changes? Let's see, it's asking for the name. The name is Frank. Then commit changes. So I committed this guy. So I have this guy, this file, right? So I'll come to my repository. I have a file, build spec.yaml, right? So now, because my remote repository has changed from my local repository, I have to do a git pull. Let's do a git pull and see. So you can see I don't have that file yet. So I cannot say git pull. I should have that guy pulled into, see, let me give my passphrase. So it's now telling me that counting objects through, yeah, one file was pulled, build spec.yaml. Let's check. I have build spec.yaml. So this is it, guys. This is how you use Git to interact with AWS CodeCommit. And there are other things we can still do. You can change the main, the default branch here is main. You can see reference is main branch. I can create a pull request, right? So I can change this main from main to master. I can come to settings. There are a lot of things you can do here. You can change the repository name if you don't want it. You can change it from here. All right. Then what else can we do? Default branch is main. Let me see if I can change this branch. Can I? Let's see. These are encryption keys. I can delete the repository if I'm done. Branches. Let me check branches. Why can't I change this branch? I can create more branches here. You can see. I can select this branch. Then I can view branch. Is there no way I can? There should be a way, guys. There should be a way to actually rename this branch. I can just do it from my local. All right. I can just see git branch dash capital M master, and this has changed the branch. So I've said git branch. I have it as what? Master. So I can just say git pull. Let's pull one more time. Let me see if it will affect code commit. Now let's do a git push. Let me add a file. Touch file. Let me add some files. About 3 files. .csv. Right. So these are CSV files. Right. So now git add these files. Then git commit -m added some CSV files, right? Now git push. Let's push them. Now it's now saying that something has changed. We need to set the upstream, right? So to push the branch of the same name or remote, use this. On the remote, use this head. So something that's changed. So the branch that we have locally is not the branch that we have remotely, right? So it's saying that we should use git push origin head, push to that same branch. Let's see. All right, we've pushed the changes. So let's come here, let's refresh. So if I refresh this now, I should have those files. All right, I should have those files. But did our branch change? I'm not having those files. Rather, it created a new branch. It created a new branch called master. All right, and move those guys there. Okay, I move everything there. Branches. Can I switch default branch? Let me see. Select this guy. Can I make default? Can I make default? Delete branch. Well, let me see. Can I delete this? Is it a branch cannot be undone from? Let's delete and see. Let me see. If because a default branch, I can't delete this branch. Is there a way I can change this view branch? There should have been a way. I don't know why I'm not getting that way. There should have been a way to actually change the default branch. Change default branch. Change default branch. Or okay, I have to select it here. I've seen it, guys. So select it here and click on save. So this will become your default branch. Thank you, thank you. So save. This is how you change your default branch. Yeah. So my default branch now is master. Let's go and check. Let's go to repositories. So you can see my default branch now will be master. Let's check. Let's check. Branches. Come to branches. You can see now my default branch is master. Then I can delete this guy. Let's go back again. Go to branches. Click on branches. Sorry, go to settings. Settings. Now to change your default branch, just come here and select the branch and click on save. Automatically, it will switch the branch that you want it to be what default. So that's it, guys. So we just made our master branch the default branch, right? So I hope this session has been very, very informative, guys, and I hope to see you guys in our next episode. Thank you, thank you. Just a wrap up. Yeah, that's it, guys. So we're able to see how we could, authenticate from our local machine to AWS CodeCommit and start pushing our codes. Thank you and see you in our next video. Peace out.